show. Again, today's tax talk. And our topic today is the Treasury doubles down, right? So they are intent on getting this bank reporting requirement in the law and get it passed. And they are using every tool in their arsenal to do that. I think a lot of it, they're being disingenuous, but that's something we can, that's a matter of opinion on a lot of this. But let's talk again. Let's go right to this data sheet, because I should say the fact sheet. So let's go into that, because this is the Treasury doubles down. And the fact sheet: tax compliance proposals will improve tax fairness. Well, first off, I don't know if the Department of Treasury's job is for fairness, right? What is fairness after all? And fairness while protecting taxpayer privacy. Well, the whole uproar about the bank reporting is the invasion of taxpayers' privacy. So let's see how they're going to protect taxpayers' privacy and improve tax. So let's go to the story. This is a press release released yesterday, October 19th, and so here it is. Rates of tax compliance, and this is their argument, and again, I will comment along about why I object or disagree with some of these points that they make. Rates of tax compliance in the United States are based in large part on the ways taxpayer accrued income. Those who receive their incomes that is reported on by a third-party source, such as wage earners, exhibit near perfect compliance rates on their salaries, since the payer of the income also reports the income paid as a deduction. By contrast, taxpayers who accrue income in hard-to-trace ways exhibit much lower rates of compliance. They don't know this for a fact. They are basing this on some of their audits, and those who audit are obviously more likely to have some problems than others. And so then they extrapolate those numbers and say, well, see, from our audits, we think that 15% of the people don't comply. And again, that's a guess. They don't know. It's a guess. But that's, of course, the larger the number, the more it supports their position. With no information that the IRS can use to detect noncompliance. Well, Americans, it's a law, right, that we have to comply. And so when they're saying, we don't know if they're complying. Well, in our system of government, you're supposed to have probable cause that somebody's committing a crime before you have an access to private information. Ultimately, the difference in compliance has led to two-tiered system of tax administration in the U.S., whereby taxes are mandatory for wage earners and beneficiaries of federal programs like Social Security recipients, while other taxpayers have far more discretion over whether they pay their taxes. Actually, everybody has the same obligation to pay tax on all income from whatever source. That's the law. And what they're saying here is we already invade everybody's privacy for wage earners, and that we get near 100% because we're all over them and we won't let them, and we invade their privacy every day. And because we invade their privacy and we can't invade some others' privacy, the only fair thing to do is invade everybody's privacy. That's the only fair thing to do, is violate everybody's privacy. And again, I think that's a slippery slope, in my opinion. Additionally, since less visible income streams accrue disproportionately to higher income, it is. The only way to ensure that upper income taxpayers pay what they owe is by giving the IRS the resources, information required to close the tax gap. I've told you many times that the tax gap is their boogeyman that they've been using. Oh, we got to get the tax gap down. We got to get the tax gap down. And again, it's a guess. They don't know what the tax gap is. As I said, they always reported it at 150 billion, 200 billion. And now this year they're telling us it's $1 trillion, 4 times what it's ever been reported, or at least 3 times what it's been reported. And so I don't know where those numbers come from. Again, the higher number supports their allegations or their position that everybody's a cheater. And the only fair thing to do is to stop the cheaters. And again, they don't know this. They don't have that. It's a guess. Okay. So Congress reviewed the administration's proposed tax compliance reform released in conjunction with the fiscal year. In response to considerations about scope, it has crafted a new approach to include an exemption for wage and salary earners and federal program beneficiaries. Under this revised approach, such earners can be completely carved out of the reporting structure. Who? Those who already give them the information are carved out of the structure. I'm reading it again because I've read this already, so I don't understand. Under this revised approach, okay, so this is a well-reasoned modification. For American workers and retirees, the IRS already has this information and salary, income, and federal benefits they receive. The Treasury Department is supportive of Congress's tailoring of the compliance regime to shed light on income that is unreported to the IRS presently. Proposed tax, I'm going back up to the top. Congress reviewed the administration's proposed tax compliance reform released in conjunction with this year's budget. In response to considerations about scope, it has crafted a new approach to include an exemption for wage and salary earners. Now, how would the bank know if you're a wage and salary earner? How would they know how to stop, who to stop? And actually, I don't, that's the first I've heard that. I haven't heard that from anybody. But again, whether it's if it's an invasion of privacy, it doesn't really matter if they only invade some privacy, some taxpayers' privacy, or all the taxpayers' privacy, right? And if it's not you, then they're coming after you next. How does the financial reporting proposal work? Financial institutions and banks will add just 2 additional numbers to the information that they already supply to taxpayers and the IRS: the total amount of funds deposited in the account and the total amount withdrawn over the course of the year. As I pointed out before, what the problem with this is when they look at those numbers, they can easily ask for all of it, right? So it's not just that. That's just the initial reporting. After they get those numbers, then they will ask for more, and that's the violation. It's a violation of privacy. So then the rationale for this reform is that the IRS can use this additional aggregate information to focus its enforcement efforts on the wealthy taxpayer. No, they're not. It's not just wealthy people. With an improved ability to identify tax evasion and to decrease audits of compliant taxpayers. Misinformation. In the months since the administration compliance proposal was released, though these reforms have been subject to widespread mischaracterization. One prominent misconception concerns whether banks will have to report individual transactions to the IRS. The financial reporting proposal does not include reporting on individual transactions of any amount. Instead, banks would add 2 additional, as they already said. But how would this information be useful? And again, it doesn't really matter how it's useful. I always like that the analogy is, if we let the police come into everybody's home and look around, our crime rate would probably go down. And those who commit crimes are probably more likely not to commit crimes because they're under investigation or they're under scrutiny all the time, as all of us are with the IRS. But that doesn't mean somehow you don't have Fourth Amendment rights, because it would be better for the law enforcement, easier for law enforcement to find criminals if we violate their Fourth Amendment rights. And that's exactly what's at issue here. Even if they could catch every tax evader, it wouldn't be worth the price of our freedom and our privacy. It's just not. It's against our principles, and it's against the Constitution. Okay, so imagine this is one of my favorite examples. They've changed the example from last Monday because the last Monday example was $1. And now they made it to $10,000. Imagine a taxpayer who reports $10,000 in income. And again, on Monday, that the article was they reported $1, but it has 10 million, and it was only $1 million in inflows and outflows. Now it says of flows in and out. See, they changed the language. You see how they do this, but it has $10 million of flows in and out. What says in the proposal and in the bill, it says inflows and outflows. It doesn't say flows in and out. Okay, so again, plural. It doesn't say one number. It doesn't say that of their bank account. Having this summary information will help flag the IRS with when high-income people underreport their income and underpay their tax obligations. This will help the IRS target its enforcement activities. Again, that example is just ludicrous. It's not even helpful. A second misconception is that all Americans will be swept under the greater IRS scrutiny as a result of the compliance. In reality, many financial accounts are already reported to the IRS, including every bank account that earns at least $10 in interest. They just tell them what the interest is. They don't tell them what's in the bank account. They don't tell them the inflows and outflows. And all American workers, much more detailed information reporting exists. So again, here's the argument: we already invade everybody else's privacy. Why shouldn't we invade your privacy? Right? We already invade all their privacy. Why can't we do more? Why shouldn't we do more? It's not fair that we can invade their privacy and not do it more to them, because they're going to get their bank statements too, and others who they aren't invading their privacy right now. So again, it's a disingenuous argument. Under the current proposal, fiscal accounts with money flowing in and out that totals less than $10,000 annually are not subject to any additional reporting. Again, they're just changing this number to $10,000. But think about your own bank account. Does your bank account have more than $10,000 go in and out every year? Very few does. I asked my son, and he was in college, so he wasn't working. So he barely made $10,000. So, but he did make $10,000. So it would sweep him in too. But most of us working, $10,000, of course you're gonna have $10,000 going in and out of your bank account. Of course you are. And that's almost everybody. I don't know. A third misconception concerns raising taxes on workers. It cannot be emphasized enough that this proposal does not involve raising taxes. No, it doesn't raise the tax rate. And yes, it's as I already mentioned on this. Okay, all income from whatever source is already taxable. So it's already taxable. So when they're saying, well, it doesn't raise taxes, that's true. And so now here's my analogy also. Is it? The law says you're supposed to go 55 miles an hour on the Edens. Right? Most of the Edens is 55 miles an hour. If I go 56, should I get a ticket? If I go 57, should I get a ticket? If I go 60, should I get a ticket? Actually, that's exactly what they're saying here. Yes, every dollar that you get is taxable. But if I don't report a dollar, is that a crime? Is that wrong? Should we stop that? Should we give up all of our privacy so that dollar is also taxed? The 33 cents? I mean, at what point is it too intrusive to, if we pulled everybody over that was going 56, and anybody in Chicago already knows this. If you're doing 6 miles an hour over now, they're giving you a ticket. How do you feel about that? You think that's fair? You think that's right? You think that's the way our laws ought to be interpreted? Well, the law says 35. You did 41. The law says 25. You did 31. Is that the way? Is that a fair prosecution of our laws? I'd say it isn't.